certain. So we're gonna give this like middle area right here. Keep that clear, but then we can put people on the inside of this rail, kind of just like on either side of the rails. Is what I think I want the vibe to be. TFN shirts, stagger yourselves. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Great. Okay, Angel. I'm going to have you stand right in front of Emily. Right over here.
I mean, I brought a hat, so
What's your name? Erica? Naveen, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I am going to put you right behind Marty.
Okay, great.
And then, okay, great. And then I'm going to have you stand slightly perfect.
Yes, the gayest thing I've ever been a part of.
The gayest thing you've ever been a part of?
Love it.
Okay, great.
I'm like, give me instructions. Just tell me where to be.
I'm going to swap. Emily, I'm going to give you a different poster so it matches the one Marty has.
Sounds good.
So we have a mix of the horizontal and vertical. Thank you.
I'm almost up here.
Yeah.
Yes, around. Of course. That was my goal.
Okay, let me.
Now I decided every protest will say
Yes. No, but really though.
yeah, for real.
I've been thinking about having protests where you make sure that you're welcoming people.
Ideally would love, I'm going to try to
Like talking to
bully a few more people.
a couple more people.
Yeah. But I think if we get 3 or 4 more people in here, the framing of it will look perfect. Thank you. Appreciate you standing in the sun.
Of course.
Y'all are great. Yes. We have a great lineup. I'm very excited.
I just went to a AJC thing for the.
Do any of you want water?
I was very
I was hoping
We have some water over there. Let me know. I can grab some.
that was supposed to be. I've been watching Chad. I think 2015.
As long as I know where I'm supposed to be. Know where you're supposed to be. I know. I'm like, I feel like this is an old preemptive.
As a nation, Islam needs to do a lot of marketing.
On one thing, I'm talking to myself. No, I don't want you to feel that way.
Got some more folks.
Nice. How are you? Good. Michelle. Yeah, no, I know. I was like, oh, I didn't see. That's it.
Okay, I want one of you on this side for sure.
Where is it?
So we don't have. Here, wait. Let's see what they're telling me. Okay.
Okay, and then I'm going to have you on that side, actually.
Over
Sorry
here?
to
No, you're good.
mix things around. I'm going to have you actually right over here. Oh, yes.
Spread the love.
Hello. Okay, great. You're joining my lovely wall. Okay. Trying to figure out. Actually, I want you on the top area because you have an umbrella. So, Erica, come down for a second. I'm going to move through. I'm going to put you where Erica was standing, right behind Marty.
Do you want me to move?
No, you're fine.
I love
I know. Right over here. A little bit more in. And then friend in the yellow shirt. Perfect. Okay, actually I want both of you to pack a little bit more in this way. Back towards me. Perfect. Okay, great. I'm going to put you on this side over here. Right over here on this side. Actually, you can sit. And then in a little bit more. Out a little bit more. Perfect. Side.
Here's Chaz.
Okay, great. And then I want you right over here. Yes.
Step up one.
You step up one, and you also step up one. Beautiful.
Going, you know.
Okay,
I wish that we were
excellent.
not having a special session. hard, as we all are up here. But going as well as they can.
Maybe a short time, but I'm not quite sure.
Great. Cool. Thank you. You look lovely.
Thank you.
Maybe back.
And just a reminder to myself and all of you, hot mics. So last week I was saying some fun things before I realized the mics were on. Cool.
What time are we expected to get about started?
We should be starting in like a minute or two.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah. Again, let me know if you need water. Throw me a little sign if that's helpful to you, and I will.
Extra glad I brought my umbrella.
I always remember that.
And Brad said he had a couple of extras, so anybody wants some.
Don't want to just kind of create a line, be wary of the stuff. Run of shown here.
Sign is upside
Miriam's
down,
going to
Sophia.
introduce you, Representative.
Because I want you to have problems.
Do we have it? Let me just.
Beautiful.
We're good?
Okay.
Give us for everyone behind you.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, folks standing on the steps in the middle, you can scooch in a tiny bit toward the middle. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Yes, you look lovely.
You're not just telling us this, are you?
No, you do look beautiful. I appreciate you standing in the sunshine. You look radiant. Excellent.
Okay.
Hi, good morning. My name is Miriam Laeky, my pronouns she, her, and I serve as Government Affairs Director for Equality Texas, the largest organization here in the state fighting for LGBTQIA+ rights. We're gathered here today because the rights, dignity, and safety of transgender Texans, especially those of our Black trans folks, are once again under attack. HB 32 and SB 7 don't make anyone safer. They threaten the freedom of our neighbors to simply exist, to move through public spaces without fear or shame. But we're here to say enough. We will not be divided, we will not be erased, and we will not allow this state to repeat the mistakes of the past. To begin our press conference, I'm honored to introduce a longtime champion for civil rights, a fierce defender of equity, and someone who always stood on the side of justice, State Representative Ron Reynolds.
Good morning, y'all. Thank you so much for showing up and showing out. I want to thank Miriam for her great leadership. My name is Ron Reynolds. I'm proud to serve as state representative for House District 27, the second vice chair of the Texas House Democratic Caucus, and the chair emeritus of the Texas Legislative Black Caucus. Today, I'm honored to stand in solidarity with Equality Texas to fight the injustice against the transgender community. Yes, as we head into the second week of the not-so-special session, I'm appalled that Governor Abbott and Republican lawmakers are prioritizing this dehumanizing legislation over responding to the devastating floods that have crushed communities across Texas. This bill proposes separate bathrooms for transgender Texans, echoing the shameful legacy of segregation laws. Our ancestors fought. They made good trouble to eradicate segregation, and now here we are in 2025 as some MAGA extremists want to bring us back. And I say, not on our watch. We're not going back. As a African American, I may not be transgender, but I know what it feels like to be othered, to move through the world under constant surveillance, treated like you don't belong. Black communities have endured this kind of state-sanctioned exclusion and discrimination when it comes to policing for generations, and we recognize it when we see it. The truth is this bill isn't about public safety. It's about targeting trans communities and enforcing modern-day segregation. Black trans folks already experience some of the highest rates of transphobic violence and discrimination in the United States of America, and will likely face even greater harm and criminalization as a result if this bill is passed. Republicans and MAGA extremists are trying to make us fear and erase our transgender community, but we're not going to let it happen. Instead, we're staying fired up and following in the footsteps of civil rights and LGBTQ trailblazers whose shoulders we stand on today. They came before us. They fought these fights. And there is no reason that we're going to let them turn back the clock. It's times like this when all Texans need to step up and cause some good and necessary trouble. Because when trans are under attack, all of our rights are under attack. That is why I'm going to do everything that I can to fight against this bill in the House. I refuse to let history repeat itself, knowing that we're stronger together. United, we stand. Divided, we fall. And so my call to action is for all people of good conscience, not just African Americans, not just Christians, but Muslims, straight, lesbian, LGBTQ, all of us speaking out on the right side of history, speaking truth to power and saying not on our watch we will allow them to divide us and target and discriminate against our transgender community. Now, I am so proud to bring up a fierce fighter, someone who I've worked closely with when it came to many issues impacting African Americans and civil rights. I'm talking about Antonio Ingram with the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. Come on up, Antonio. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Good morning. My name is Antonio Ingram, and I serve as a senior counsel at the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. We were founded by Thurgood Marshall in 1940, who would later go on to become the first Black U.S. Supreme Court Justice. It was at the Legal Defense Fund that Thurgood Marshall led the seminal case of Brown v. Board of Education, rendering the indignity of segregation unconstitutional. It is because of the legacy of Brown that I am here today to speak out against Senate Bill 7. Senate Bill 7 constitutes an attempt by Texas legislators to resurrect harmful state-sanctioned indignity. Senate Bill 7 seeks to exile transgender individuals to separate restrooms. However, as Brown v. Board of Education reminds us, separate will never be equal. Senate Bill 7 would create state-sanctioned segregation based on gender identity. As a Black American whose family originally hails from Texas, I personally know how state-sanctioned discrimination has harmed communities in Texas. Segregation never increased safety. Segregation only served to isolate, erase, and endanger. Whether it was Jim Crow signs barring my ancestors here in Texas from water fountains and restrooms, or modern legislation policing where trans people can access basic resources such as using the restroom, the intention is the same: to control and discriminate through exclusion. Senate Bill 7 merely changes the target, not the tactic. If Senate Bill 7 becomes law, Texas will repeat the same shameful mistakes that have harmed Black communities for generations. We must reject attempts by elected officials to once again create second-class citizens of everyday Texans. We must oppose attempts to exile our transgender citizens to separate restrooms. All Texans deserve to have dignity and safety. Transgender Texans are no exception. Thank you. I now would like to introduce Verniss from the Mahogany Project.
Thank y'all so much for being here today. My name is Verniss McFarland, and I'm excited. Oh, I need to adjust it. This is better? All right. Y'all can hear me? All right. Thank you again for being here. My name is Verniss McFarland. I'm with the Mahogany Project. Normally, I wouldn't stop to make a big deal about my name. I'll just introduce myself and keep it moving. But today, I want to be intentional. Again, my name is Verniss McFarland III. That's correct, the third. A name with weight, history, and purpose. It was first given to my grandfather by his mother at the height of the Jim Crow era. Growing up, my grandfather used to take me back on road trips to Birmingham, Alabama. I didn't completely grasp it at the time, but I can feel the history in the air. The courage. You can almost hear the echoes of those who marched, stood firm, and bled for the future that we have today. Those were the people who endured the so-called separate but equal policy, which we know meant separate but nowhere but equal. Pushing forward with the hope that their children, their grands, and their great-grands would not be subject to this cycle. Not long ago, bathrooms were marked white and colored. Today, lawmakers are considering legislation that would prohibit transgender persons from using cisgendered bathrooms. Tell me how this is any different. The sole goal of segregating bathrooms in the manner is to dehumanize and denigrate our transgender siblings. This is not about safety or privacy. It's about telling transgender individuals where we stand in the hierarchy. The goal remains the same, to force us out of public life. However, many of us are aware that history repeats itself, and sadly, we find ourselves here right now on the south steps of the Capitol in Austin debating who can pee where freely. I traveled through the United States, and I've used my fair number of restrooms, including women's. I received no second glance, nor have my lens made anyone feel unsafe. In fact, whenever I found myself in washroom where there were other women, femmes, or people who are identified as women or girls, I've always felt accepted. In fact, I've gotten some of the finest compliments on my skin, my wardrobe, and my handbag. While using the restroom, thank you. While using the restroom isn't the most traditional way to bond, moments like this have made a unique experience and improved one's self-confidence, whether it's they're cisgender, trans, or non-binary. Creating separate but so-called equal restrooms for transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming people, which further target us, those of us who use those restrooms and occupy those facilities. And it also denies bonds and moments with our peers, such as receiving that affirming compliment on the blouse or your lipstick when freshening up in the powder room, or denying us the simple experience of using a facility that is gender affirming and appropriate without making us a target. We don't need bathroom monitors. We need more leadership. Our lawmakers were not elected to micromanage which restrooms we use. They were elected to solve real problems like flooding, food insecurity, and public education. I also add the electrical grid to that because things are really getting out of hand. It's time for Texas to give us the attention that we deserve without making us a target. Thank you. And it's my privilege to bring up Sophia Malone with the Transgender Education Network of Texas. And while I've just met her moments ago, she's already made a huge impact on me as a possibility model.
Hi, everyone. My name is Safara Malone. I am a 20-year-old Black trans woman and a student. I am here representing the Transgender Education Network of Texas. Texans are under attack. On July 9th, Governor Abbott announced his priorities for the upcoming special session of the 89th Texas Legislature. Among his priorities is an act on legislation protecting women's privacy in sex-segregated spaces, widely known as a bathroom bill. This bill prohibits trans and gender-expansive people from accessing essential facilities such as restrooms and other sex-segregated facilities like government buildings, colleges, and schools. As a product of Texas public schools and a transgender college student, I'm here to call shame on Greg Abbott. Attending a public school where I was allowed to be myself was a breath of fresh air in a suffocating Texas political climate. Getting to use the restroom of my gender where I felt safe and comfortable in was everything to me. Greg Abbott and these bill authors aren't worried about trans people in restrooms. So-called bathroom bills like this one have nothing to do with safety and privacy and everything to do with criminalizing and endangering the trans community. They know that trans people aren't causing harm. They are afraid of us being normal. They're afraid of trans teachers, trans scholars, and trans policymakers. They are afraid of us being part of their society. But there is no us or them. Trans people are everywhere, and we are your neighbors. Even still, their goal is clear: to further relegate trans people to the social and economic margins of our society. What do they expect for the bathrooms transgender people will be legally allowed to use under this new legislation? They are attempting to keep trans people out of public life with no requirements for an alternative. Bathrooms are a necessary part of public life for all of us. They represent our everyday bodily functions and should be one of the least politicized spaces that we have. Yet history shows the opposite. Separate but equal was never just about bathrooms. Look, transphobia harms all of us. Policing who can access public facilities is a slippery slope into policing all of Texans based on the whims of who is in power. Trans people have been here for years. We have fought through the AIDS crisis, we have fought through a marriage equality, and we are going to fight through this. Trans Texans have a history of persevering through adversity. And we will keep fighting for what all Texans deserve, a life of dignity in the state where we call home. And we at Tent will keep fighting, no matter what. We won't let Texas legislators take us out of public life. And up next, I am proud to introduce Chaz Moore. Thank you.
Hey, I'm taking this because I sweat really easy, and y'all don't want to see that. But I'm Chaz Moore. I'm the one of the co-founders of the Austin Justice Coalition, and I am beyond happy to stand here today as a black man and an ally. I think with everything going on in today's world, we need as many friends to show up for us as possible. I think also anybody that knows me, like my good friend Marty behind me, one of my favorite people on the planet. Anybody that knows me know that I love good TV. One of my favorite shows of all time is Frasier. I don't know why. It's just a good show to me. And I always try to use the imitation of life that we see in media to make points when I'm talking. And right now, I think the show that comes to mind is Stranger Things. Because like it often feels that we're living in the upside down here in Texas, because things just don't quite seem to make sense. In a state where people literally are being washed away because we don't do things to make sure we have disaster relief. Like we have politicians that are worried about what folks are doing in the bathroom. In a state where we still have school shootings happening far too often. We have politicians that are worried about what folks are doing in the bathroom. In a state where we say we love our veterans and we want to do everything we can to take care of our veterans, even though our veterans don't have housing. They don't have living wages. And the only thing that our veterans are really asking for is some relief with hemp and cannabis. Our politicians can't even do that. But they're worried about what folks are doing in the bathroom. The last time I checked, when I think of the under-resourced black and brown communities, it's not what folks are doing in the bathroom that are the cause of that. When I think about our underperforming schools here in Austin and around the state, I don't think it was anything that ever happened in the bathroom with our trans neighbors that had anything to do with that. When I think about the school shootings in Uvalde, and when I think about the state troopers that didn't show up, I don't think anything that had to do with that tragedy had anything to do with a bathroom. Yet and still, we have politicians and lawmakers in the great state of Texas, and again, the upside down. We live in a state where we preach life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And we preach small government and how you cannot tread on me and come take this and come take that. But in the same state that we preach liberty and do what you want and do what makes you feel good, we have politicians and lawmakers that are going so granular as to tell us who can and cannot use a bathroom. It's so crazy how much the far right and even some of our, and it's not Jesus, but some people that like to twist Jesus' words, demonize our trans neighbors. Because the last time I checked, there are people in high offices that are on the list that we've been talking about for some time that are far more likely to do damage to your kids than any trans person. The last time I checked, our trans neighbors and folks in the LGBTQIA plus community were reading books to our kids. But last time I also checked, it was these politicians getting on jets, hiding lists that we can't talk about, that we shouldn't talk about. But we're worried about, again, what our neighbors are doing in bathrooms. And I think it's important for me to be here today as a black man, as an American, as an ally, to remind folks that when black folks talk about Black Lives Matter, we have to make sure we're talking about all black lives. If we're only standing up for cisgendered folks and cisgendered men and women, we're not doing our job. The last time I checked, the people that showed us how to rally and fight for our rights the correct way was the folks at Stonewall. Stonewall wasn't about just talking, it was about action. And if you know your history, you know so much of what we have in our culture and our society has come from trans folks. And the fact that today we want to act like the most heinous crimes, another TV reference if you got what I did there, are happening in bathrooms because of our trans neighbors is insane. So again, I'm honored to stand here today with Equality Texas, the largest organization fighting for civil rights by LGBTQIA plus community. And I'll proudly stand up and wave this banner as much as we can. Like, we know we have crazy politicians in there, but I do know this. Just like I said, in every TV show, almost every TV show, especially every Marvel movie, that if we continue to fight, we will win. When things look dark and gray, even when we lose some key characters like Iron Man in Endgame, we still find a way to pull together and win. Right? So, like, no matter what they say they want to do or what they think they're going to do, I do know this. If the people come together and we remind ourselves of the powers that we have, and we remind ourselves that our greatest resource is one another, it doesn't matter what they do in this building. So let's continue to show up and fight for our brothers and sisters, and let's continue to make sure that we make Texas the state that they think it is, which is a state of freedom and liberty. Next up, I'd like to bring up a community member and another major speaker, Mick Rose.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Mick Rose, and I'm here because I am a black trans man. A black trans man born on Juneteenth, the day that we celebrate freedom in Texas. But standing here today, I'm reminded that true freedom isn't always guaranteed, especially not for people like me. Some lawmakers want to bring back segregation, not by race this time, y'all, but by gender identity. They're trying to write laws that decide who gets to use which bathroom. Let me be very clear. This is not about safety. It's not about privacy. This is about fear. It's about control, and this is all about exclusion. My ancestors fought, bled, and died to tear down signs that said colored only. And now here in 2025, this legislature wants to hang new signs. Signs that say trans people do not belong. That we're the threat. That we should be policed for simply existing in public spaces. We've seen what separate looks like. We've seen what separate really means. That means lesser schools, lesser jobs, and lesser lives. Separate was never equal then, and today it will still not be equal. This is very personal, y'all. We've been stared down in public restrooms. We've been followed. We've feared for our own safety, but still we walk with pride because we know exactly who we are. And no law will ever be able to take that dignity from us. You don't have to understand what it means to be trans to understand that no one should have to prove their gender identity to P. Literally, to P. Texans, we value privacy, we value freedom, and we value dignity. But where is that in HB 32? Where? So I ask you, what side of history do you really want to be on? Will we let fear write our laws, or will we stand for justice for all people? As for me and my house, my friends, and my loved ones, we're going to continue to fight. And I call on all Texans and ask, cis, trans, black, white, or brown, if you believe in that same freedom, you believe in that same dignity, stand with us and fight in the freedom and dignity that we too are saying we deserve. Thank you. I now introduce Miriam Laeky, Governor Affairs Director of Equality Texas.
Good morning again. Miriam Laeky, she, her, Government Affairs Director for Equality Texas. I'm here today as a black woman and a proud Texan who refuses to let fear decide who deserves freedom in this state. HB 32 and SB 7 aren't about safety, they're about control. They would force schools, universities, and even domestic violence shelters to treat transgender people as threats just for existing. That's not safety, that's legalized harassment. Let's be honest, this is state-sanctioned discrimination dressed up as concern. We've seen these tactics before. In the Jim Crow South, bathrooms were used to divide, exclude, and degrade. Now, in 2025, that same logic is being used against trans Texans. And the cost is real. Texas leads the nation in anti-trans violence, especially in the murders of black trans women. Mercy Mack, Malaysia Booker, Asia Foster. These are not just names, they are lives this state failed to protect. You cannot protect women by criminalizing trans people, period. You cannot uplift survivors by targeting people trying to survive, and you will not use my womanhood to justify this cruelty. My liberation is bound to the liberation of every trans person, especially black trans folks. We rise together or not at all. We deserve a Texas where no one has to shrink, hide, or explain themselves just to have to use the bathroom in peace. We are not going anywhere, and we're not backing down. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone for standing up alongside us. Thank you to all of our speakers. Join us in opposing HB 32 and SB 7 and fighting for real concerns for real Texans. Thank you.
Likewise.